Reading and creating a love of reading is important for kids. And there are many books for children out in the world. But in spite of that, there aren't enough books featuring kids of African origin. Diversity in children's books has made great strides over the last 10 years, but experts in education say there is still a long way to go. According to update from the 2015 statistics, diversity in children's books needs a lot of help. Only about 10% of children's books feature main characters that are African or Nigerian. To address this gap, the Lagos state government says it is partnering with children literature content creators like Feyi Brownstone to bridge the gap.
It's a huge gap. When we're growing up, the books we read African titles, fine. But children these days like books that are colorful, books that are delightful, and there was sort of like this gap between the books we had then and the books we have now. So it was to translate the stories we had then into the form that they like, and we didn't have that. So creating stories like Feyi Fay, where the illustrations are fantastic, the story is so delightful, like you never really thought about it, is something that is bridging that gap for children.
US-based author Feyi Brownstone says her mission is to create books with global appeal, but with diverse characters that include Nigerian culture.
First of all, there's a big gap. I mean, if you even look at the statistics, I think last year in America even, and a lot of the books we read here kind of mirror America too, maybe only like 4 or 7% of so included a book with a black character, and many of the books that are even written with black characters are not even written by black authors as well. So there's even that a little bit of a gap. Then when you now take it to books that represent an African character, not just anybody, like just bringing in that African feel, then it's even smaller. And I think it's really important because kids, as you start to grow and you go to different places, it's important to know where you're from, who you are. It just gives you that sense of pride. And I also think that it helps to shape other people's opinion of Africa too. Because a lot of times you go somewhere, people are like, oh, they don't really know much about the people. They may just go based on what they hear. And stories are very powerful. Like a lot of times we judge a whole society, like we view America in a certain way because we see all the stories, the movies, the books. We judge a lot by the things we see and the stories we hear. And so if we are telling more of our own stories and sharing more of that, then it also it changes the perception of ourselves, but it also changes the perception of people outside. And I think it's just a great opportunity for us to export our own out. I believe that there's just so much potential.
Well, I think this is exciting because for too many years we haven't had role models and books that are actually based on our own experiences and on our culture. So it's great to see a very young person thinking in this way. I'm excited, and the state, I'm sure, is excited about this.
It is worth noting that the numbers have changed since 2015. By now, there should be much higher number of books out there featuring kids of color as the main character.
But that is changing now. The perspective is changing. The mindset is changing by things like this, who are rewriting the African story, the African narrative, with special consideration to even African myth, with special consideration to African legends, and also showcasing Africa's story from a perspective that the world can understand and celebrate.
Expands the number of Nigerian books. We also learned that you shouldn't always believe what your friends say, that you should find out the truth for yourself, and then you should face your problems and not be scared.
Overwhelmed with a huge support from the Lagos state government, friends and stakeholders in the education sector, author Feyi Brownstone says her goal is to one day turn the book to a television series and a line of toys, a further move from the current line of backpacks, t-shirts and lunch bags. This is in keying into the vision of the Lagos state government for the education sector.